Welcome, movie fans. Thanks for joining us for episode 108 of Reading Between the Reels, the premier podcast of underrated superhero movies. If you're a new listener, we're so glad you found us. If you've been enjoying the show, please subscribe and review us on iTunes or Spotify. You can also support the show by posting on your socials and joining our Facebook group. I'm Craig Dickinson alongside Corey Heichman and Justin Olin. What's going on, fellas? How we doing tonight?
Go ahead, Justin.
Oh, wow, episode 108. We're kind of like legitimate.
No, it's weird,
This is
right?
This is it. I feel like we should have a cake. Once you get these high numbers, I love it, baby.
Yeah, we do. It's been pretty exciting. The show's growing. And for those of you that are joining us new, especially a lot of our YouTube music and YouTube listeners, thanks so much for joining us. Hope you've been enjoying what you've heard so far. We're going to move to a newer segment we have here called What Have We Been Watching This Week? And Corey, I'm going to start with you. What have you been watching since the last time we chatted?
My wife and I got back onto Matlock. We watched the new episode this week, so I am right on board with that. It was a good one. It was a good episode. Definitely some conundrum of lawyers, and you love and hate lawyers kind of thing. Like, she makes you love her, but you're also like, oh, they're smarmy and squirrely, and you can't trust them. So, anyway, been watching that, and then we ran out of Reba, so we picked up Friends series again. So we kind of started watching.
I love Friends.
It's
so
one
much.
you can have in the background, and I can pretty much know the whole scene and quote it line for line, but focus on what you're doing. Sit on the couch,
Friends is
text
one of
each
those
other.
great shows where you can like be on your smartphone while you watch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what we do. We sit and text each other back and forth.
I love that show so much.
You know what? I can't do laugh tracks anymore though. I have a hard time.
Yeah, I don't like
Anything with a laugh track just does not land the same anymore.
It's filmed in front of a live studio audience, though. How much of that is... Some of it's canned, I know, but...
Okay, anything I guess where
with people laughing in the
the
background.
jokes have to like pause and wait for the laughter to be over.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
laugh track or live studio
Totally
audience,
get
same
it,
thing.
yeah. Same feels. What have you been watching, Jess? I know you're still watching Lost.
I'm still watching Lost.
I mean, it's 6 seasons, man.
Yeah,
No
I
movie,
think I think I'm almost at the end of season 3, and man, it's just so good. It's so
I love
good,
it.
and
I love it.
I think I've said this last 3 podcasts, but I'm just gonna pretend like the ending's not gonna suck, and I'll just be happy.
Well, you have low expectations. Maybe you'll like it more.
Yeah, that's why we're friends, Greg. Boom.
Wow.
I'm
to the
sorry.
core. Cut me to the core. Wow.
It's too good of an opportunity to miss.
Dang. Oh. Okay. Wow.
What are you watching, Greg?
Oh wow. Okay. I'm still trying to get through Battlestar Galactica. I watched like half episode today, and like it's kind of dragging for me, Corey. I'm sorry. I'm gonna finish it because I'm pot committed. But
Wait, what episode are you on?
so season 3, about halfway through, they're just having the thing where they're like mining from like a really acidic planet or whatever, and Baltar's not sure if he's a Cylon, and it's just kind of dragging.
Oh, no. Okay. This is where it's going to kind of switch for you a little bit.
Okay, I'm waiting.
Have they got to the temple yet?
No, they're talking about that. They're talking
And you know
about
who the 5 Cylons are?
yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah,
We'll get there.
It's gonna pivot. 4th season's a short season,
Okay, good.
Craig. And
That's the end.
You just trust me and you hold on. Do not get the spoilers, even though it's been out for 20 years.
Yeah, no.
Do not get the spoilers on that last episode because I need you
Okay.
to tell me how great that sci-fi story wraps up.
Okay. I'm gonna keep plugging. I'm watching a little
Yes.
bit here and there. And then of course I'm watching Yellowstone. That's coming to. It's a little confusing because I thought originally it was going to be the series finale. Now they're saying it's the season finale that's coming up. That remains to be seen. But also because it's going to be the holiday season. It's Christmas movie time. I recently rewatched, because in our house it's tradition, the Santa Claus trilogy. So all the Tim Allen movies. We busted through all 3 of those like this last weekend. And then started up on Harry Potter because you can make
Are those good? All 3 Santa Clauses? I think
the
I've only
first
seen
one is
2.
fantastic.
Oh,
and
the first
love
one's amazing.
I love
Yeah.
the second one. Third one has its moments.
Yeah.
So that's
The
kind of
second
how.
one has the actress that plays Juliet in Lost.
Yes, Elizabeth Mitchell.
correct?
Yes.
Yes.
I like her quite a bit. She's great in it too, and like that's a principal I'd want to work for, because the way she handles the kids.
Yeah.
Look into my eyes. What do you see? It's cold and dark.
Oh, hey, you know what? I just realized I did watch something else. I watched Elf this week with my
nice.
children. What a
Yeah.
fantastic film that is.
I need to get to that. So yeah, Harry Potter 1 and 2. So that's because Harry Potter, you kind of can justify that being a Christmas movie. We started those, and those are kind
Totally
of.
a
I hadn't seen them in a
Christmas
couple of years, so. And anything with Alan Rickman, I'm just a huge fan of his, and again, just finishing the second one, and you see, what's the guy that played Lucius Malfoy? What's his name? Jason Isaacs, and I'm just lamenting the fact that they didn't have more scenes together, because I just want to see Jason Isaacs and Alan Rickman just sitting around just shooting the bull, because those guys are amazing together. And well, they're amazing separate, but I don't really know if I've seen them in anything other than like the one dinner table scene in the 7th movie. I think that's it.
Jason Isaacs, I think, is an incredible actor. That guy,
Yeah.
Gosh.
Yeah. We're going to see him soon. In the second half, he has a very small part in Elektra. I don't know if you guys remember that, but he's in that briefly at the beginning.
I feel the need to say this.
Never watched Elektra.
One of my students' parents looks like Jason Isaacs, and
Let's not say who.
It terrifies me.
Yeah.
And it's this student's mom.
Yeah.
Looks just like Lucius. Oh my goodness, so scary. Parent-teacher conferences, what a rough time.
Wow. On that segue, tonight we're talking about continuing our Marvel Before the MCU series. We're about almost halfway through. There's 16 of these movies. This is number 8, and we're watching The Punisher from 2004, starring as he's billed in this movie, Thomas Jane usually, and John Travolta. So, overall thoughts, Corey. I'm going to start with you.
Oh, why you gotta do that to me? Look, I'm gonna get you guys mad at me tonight.
Yeah,
it's not my fault. All right, listen, it's an okay movie for me. It's okay. Did I hate it? No. Did I love it? No. Did I think it was okay? Yes. I think it's 2004. I feel like this was Marvel's beginning, trying to really get their legs going. This movie's definitely dated in its approach. I think there's just so many things going on. It's kind of like Kill Bill meets Batman, kind of. I don't know. And we get a guitar solo in the middle of a diner very awkwardly.
Oh, that's awesome.
I love it.
Which I'm not, don't get me wrong, that was kind of a cool and weird scene. I was like, oh, this guy comes in and starts singing a solo. I'm going to sing that at your funeral. Like, okay.
That's cool.
Like, just
Act talk.
shoot the guy there. Okay. But for me, it felt like a TV movie. And I can't tell if we're going to talk about it with the soundtrack. I think the music's kind of just very soap opera-ish for me. Him getting his Punisher shirt on the beach, I don't know what that was. Like, we never saw how he came up with that logo there. He just picked up that shirt.
Yeah.
Was it?
Oh yeah.
He picked up the shirt.
We'll come back to that. Yeah.
But it's just it's a good movie for 2004. I would have been in it. I think I did watch this in theaters. I can't remember if I did or didn't. I feel like it's Marvel finally starting to develop their comic on-screen abilities. So there's a lot of. Did he do any real acting other than looking serious all the time and then reading? Like it was almost like narrating. You know what it is? Blade Runner. That's what it is. I'm going back to Blade Runner. It's the narration that kills me. The narration is terrible.
You watched the wrong Blade Runner. We talked about this.
No, and I must have watched the wrong Punisher because he didn't. I bet you he has more words narrating his inner monologue than he does saying in the actual movie.
I'm fine with that.
I do want to point out that there was some confusion in our group chat before we started recording whether or not Corey actually watched the right Punisher, because there's this one in 2004 and I believe there's another one in like 2008. I don't know when that other one came out. The other one's not very good.
Warzone, is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, Warzone, yeah. And it's like, wait,
and then the Dolph Lundgren one from the 80s, and then because there was a GIF of John Bernthal, and I'm like, did he just watch the whole Netflix show? What's?
I watched the whole Netflix show.
Anyway, but I feel like two things. One, and I'll wrap up my stuff with these two things. One, if it's very a TV movie, because I feel like first off, John Travolta was miscast. I don't think John Travolta is a good villain in this movie for how he was.
Have you seen Face Off though?
We're going to get to the acting.
But see, that's just it. he wasn't maniacal like he is in that one or Broken Arrow. Who, by the way, Frank Castle's wife also was in Broken Arrow with John.
Yeah, she was.
Travolta.
She killed the Navy SEAL by throwing a hammer at him, which was the movie's trash. Yeah.
Was absolutely believable. So,
Trash.
like, yeah, no, I just saying that was throwing me off, and then I don't feel like the Punisher is vicious enough in this movie. Like, part of it is, here's why. I've never watched any of the new Punisher stuff. None of it, right? I've never watched it, never saw it. But to me,
he's tame compared to that.
I've seen clips of it here and there. And my problem with this is on the Daredevil Punisher speech on top of the building where Frank is telling him how he goes, you get them into jail and you get them back out on the street. I put them down and put them down for good. That part right there, I was like, absolutely. That's what the Punisher needs to be. He's a Punisher, not just a, like, Frank. This guy just shot up a couple people, used a lot of bombs, and never actually just took someone out with his fists and just like, that's how I picture the Punisher, is just a vigilante all the time. So just not quite there for me. 2004, they had to be a little more tame.
Okay. Justin, retort.
I'm just really hurt.
You're comprehending that.
Origin story, Corey.
I just don't know where to start my disagreement.
Yeah.
So this is the third time I've seen this movie. I saw it once in 2004 when it first came out, and then I saw it another time in like 2010-ish, and I remember really liking it that time too. And as one does, like, you grow up, you mature, you become a man, and you watch a movie again, and maybe you don't like it as much. And I almost half expected to go into this the same way, but holy crap, I love this movie so much. It's so good. I think I'll start off with probably the weakest part is some of the acting, some of the time. I do feel like John Travolta phoned it in a little bit.
Yeah.
Kind of seems like he did. Yes. Or maybe he was doing this intentionally, but he seemed to just phone it in. But and then the who plays Joan?
Oh, Rebecca Romaine.
Rebecca, yeah, she's from X-Men.
Sorry, Tom Jane, the guy that the guy that plays Punisher. There were a couple scenes where he seemed to struggle a little bit. We'll talk about more about that later. But overall, the tone of the movie, the theme, the action sequences, the scene in his apartment with the Russian. It's just so cool.
Absolutely.
I don't like early 2000 movies. I actually despise them most of the time. Mm-hmm. And this one, to me, did not feel like an early 2000 movie. It was fantastic. It was I wanted more. I wanted more of this movie, and I'm sad that it was kind of a one-off. I think it didn't do super well, and you don't hear about it much anymore because it was right before the inception of the MCU, so it got quickly brushed under the rug. But also, comic book movies, I don't think had, like Corey was saying, didn't quite have their legs at the time. I think if this movie wasn't, I think if it wasn't a comic book movie, if it was just, you put John McCain in there, you just make this a Die Hard movie, it would have probably done much better, or just some random one-off action movie, I think it would have done much better. So I think the Punisher origins and the idea that it was comic booky and this is for nerds held it back. But oh my goodness, I loved every minute of this movie.
I absolutely agree with you. I don't think it feels, and maybe that's what I'm struggling with, I don't think it's comic booky. There is no superpower to it. It's just a vengeance story.
Yeah.
Of one man against all odds, kind of vengeance story.
Well, it's kind of so in every other pre-MCU movie we've done so far, it has been the origin story of the hero obtaining their powers, right? This guy doesn't obtain his powers. He's always had those powers.
Right.
And it's more of a psychological switch that he can now use his skill set for something else. So it's not, I got bit by a spider, I have powers. It's, you pissed me off, now I'm going to go, mess up your life. Which, I guess is, fundamentally not so much of a superhero thing. But, it's just, it's so good. It's so good. Craig, tell me how good it is.
Yeah, no, it is really good. It is You mentioned the box office. Like it only made about $54.5 million, but it was on a budget of only 33. So, like we mentioned,
not a huge success.
No, it didn't. But they filmed it in Florida to save money, and it's like Marvel didn't quite know what they have and didn't really believe in this movie, or the student. I mean, Marvel had licensed it to Lionsgate, I believe. Lionsgate didn't believe in this movie. Didn't back this movie properly. Marketing's part of that too. I agree. Like as a comic book movie, it's not a comic book movie. It's an action movie. It feels like a mid-90s action movie to me.
Yeah.
And a lot of that is,
thank you.
The screenplay. You got Michael France who did Hulk, strangely enough, and the Fantastic Four, which is upcoming. But he also did Cliffhanger and GoldenEye, mid-90s action films, right? And then Jonathan Hensley, who directs, also co-wrote. He did Die Hard with a Vengeance and The Saint and Armageddon. So it feels like that. Like all of those movies have moments of, whether they're great movies or not, all of those movies have moments of, oh man, that was cool. Right? Like some smack talk and cool action sequences that are memorable, exciting explosions and different set pieces and those kind of things. And it feels like that. And so I liked it a lot. I've only seen it the once before this. And I think it's just a solid action flick. It does not have to be a comic book movie. In fact, like the speech at the end, call me the Punisher, is kind of one of the silliest parts of this movie. It feels kind of tacked on. It's like, hey, we have to do this thing because it is the actual Punisher, but it wouldn't have to be the Punisher. Like that is obviously that's his backstory. His family is killed and he, goes on a revenge spree or whatnot. But I think what you said, Justin, like the fact that it doesn't have to be a comic book movie and it's almost held back by that is true.
Yeah, and the few instances where I feel like the movie felt like weird or out of place were the instances I think where they were trying to stay true to the comic books, like the Russian's outfit, like he's wearing that like red and white like sailor shirt. I don't know what's going on there.
I love
hair and all that stuff.
Waldo. I love Waldo.
I mean, it's true to the comics,
Waldo?
but it's like we probably could have updated that costume a little bit. That looks weird. It does not fit with the tone.
Oh, I thought it fit wonderful with the tone. I thought it was great.
Well, see, what's funny about that too is like, there's no Micro and there's no Jigsaw, and both of those would have made this a little bit more comic accurate, and they're left out because the director and co-writer Jonathan Hensley didn't want him in there. And so it's like you can see that this is a film where certain things are being, the studio's interfering in certain places, right? It feels like there are a lot of chefs in the kitchen. Like on the other hand, the kind of the compromise by having Frank's neighbors. I love the neighbors. I thought those were great. A great addition to the film. It helps humanize him. There's some much needed levity in a very serious film. I liked all of those characters. They don't have a ton of screen time, but I feel like I know each of them, and they're individualized. Like the characterization is really strong on all three of those.
Yeah, so, and they serve as well to kind of show how out of place Frank Castle is as well. Like when he goes to dinner with them, you can see like he is uncomfortable there.
Great scene.
Whereas just a few months or a few weeks prior, he was at dinner with his family and like totally normal. But he like a part of him had been lost, like his humanity had been lost. He can't socialize in the same way.
Yeah.
Sorry, Corey. I cut you off.
Yeah, because I absolutely agree with that. That's the part. It's only talking 5 months.
We're gonna white
now. The guy can't sit there, but I feel like
was murdered, man.
Yeah, like everyone he knows was just killed in front of him.
Oh yeah, horribly. And
he's gonna have some issues.
And I think that's the thing. This movie was like trying for that dark side of it, but they just couldn't quite commit to it. Like, right, and this is 2004. They weren't shooting for blood and guts and showing some of those scenes. I do think that was an interesting take to have his family run over by a car. I was like, oh my gosh, that's brutal and dark.
Yeah, that's hard to watch.
But I think,
especially as like a father, man. Ooh.
Yeah. The one that strikes me as the biggest villain in this is the guy who's his second, Quentin Glass.
Yeah, he's a good villain.
Will Patton does such a good job in this, but that I feel like he upstages John Travolta as the leader of the villains. Like I feel like Will Patton got more screen time, got better lines, got better stuff than than John Travolta did. John
he's a good
Travolta,
villain.
I felt like, is just the name that we attached in here, and he's acting like he did in Broken Arrow, just the same guy, just a different movie.
Yeah,
And,
we'll definitely.
and
Come
I think
back
that's
to
what
that
threw it off. I feel like it's very
Yeah.
stereotyped. I feel like the characters were just a little bland for me, and they were bad for being bad. And here they shoot up this entire island in Florida and
because he killed
wearing
his son.
sunglasses and all of this, and there's like
I got-
typecast, and then he comes back. Frank Castle's alive, and after that, there's nothing else. Like, oh, okay, we just move on with the movie. So it threw me off. And the other thing, I feel like the Russian fight that you talk about, Justin, is fantastic. I love the fight with Where's Waldo that he does. That's my thing. That's one of my favorite pictures of all time is him finding that. And it's a meme from a long time ago about Waldo finds you.
Yeah, in
right?
Russia.
Like,
yeah.
And I love that whole fight, but I feel like that fight had more action and more punishment that he could endure than the final climaxing fight.
Well, yeah.
It was him throwing a couple bombs in there, shooting a couple guys with M16s, shooting some bows and arrows. One guy from 3 feet with a bow and arrow right in his neck. Okay, got that guy. And then I get John Travolta dragged through the parking lot. Like, that was too quick. It was too fast. There was just a big boom. Okay, here we go. Big final action, and boom, we're done. And
I don't know. There was so much lead up
Yeah.
to it though, and so
Yeah.
much like emotion in there. Oh, it
All
was.
right, we'll get to all of that, but let's
Don't cut us off, Craig.
let's go through the cinematography stuff too. I think a lot of this stuff's going to come out naturally. I know I have
Yes.
some stuff from composition, color, cam work. So Justin, I'm gonna start with you this time. What are some of the things you noticed cinematography wise?
So just generally, right? It's a fairly dark film. It's the Punisher. It's kind of
Yeah.
like Marvel's Batman a little bit, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's gonna be dark. It's gonna be grungy, as it should be. But that entire time in Florida, it is bright and it is sunny and it's just happy. So they really use that to their advantage. And for the most part, he's again like Batman. He does most of his killing at nighttime.
Mm-hmm.
Which again is true to the comics, but overall, I don't feel like prove me wrong, but I don't feel like he took a whole lot of risks with the cinematography. Like it was just pretty straightforward. Nothing too fancy. Nothing. I'm gonna be honest. Nothing stood out to me.
Okay.
It was
I have many thoughts.
boring for me.
Okay.
I got a
But
few.
Maybe.
Yeah. What do you say, Corey?
So I'll talk about the one part. I agree. It's always dark, and for whatever reason, superhero lairs always have dark. Get some floor lamps in there, people. Like I can't. It's too dark for me.
You
My
can't
eyes
brood
handle
with
it.
floor lamps.
Yeah, I know. But so the part that I'm going to talk about is the beach, the hit on the beach where they come after his family, and I actually really liked this part. Okay, as these villains were walking up there. Well, no, not that part. Not them shooting everybody up.
I love
But
watching families die.
The build up and
great.
lead up to that was great because you see these villains walking. You never saw their faces. Did you notice that?
I noticed. Yes.
They were just walking, and it was their feet in the sand.
Yep.
And they're walking through the brush. And then we're seeing a behind shot. We saw nobody's face, just the back of their heads as they were walking through the weeds. And to me, it stood out like these guys are the bad guys, and you never see them coming. That's the point, right? Like in my head, I thought because they were in this big family gathering, and nobody knew they were coming, and so to do that, we had to present it from a behind view. We don't even see them or know who they are, but they're coming, and we don't know that, right? So I thought they did that really well, and that stood out to me. And then a lot of those shots, there was always grass in the foreground or something like, and it almost felt like you were peeking through the grass as an observer, or like you were watching right before the fighting and the shooting started. Like there was always a blade of grass in front of the camera or something blocking the view. And it was like they were hiding and waiting. So that stood out to me, Craig. I don't know. Thought it was pretty good. Paid attention to camera work for once. I was like, holy cow, this is kind of intriguing stuff.
Yeah.
So
no, I had that one too because I thought of them as like almost like a force of nature. Like it doesn't matter who they are, right? And then you also have the editing too, because like it keeps cutting between them and like the family gathering really quickly back and forth, and it's building that tension. I thought in a really effective way that this something's coming, and it doesn't matter. And the anonymity I think was key with that. One thing from the beginning it stood out to me because the Marvel logo it's black and white, and then there's the bullet holes through it. And like I just recently, like within the last few months, I watched like all of the Sergio Leone movies, like the Clint Eastwood spaghetti westerns, and that's how the opening credits are for those movies.
Yes.
And then the music kicks in, and it again sounds like the Man with No Name trilogy, which we'll get to a little bit. Like yes, the soundtrack with just spoiler alert for that little. Some of it's kind of melodramatic, but a lot of it is like, wow, that sounds like this should be in a Clint Eastwood western.
That's the feeling, yes.
That was the motif they were going for, and I thought was done quite well.
And there's at least 2 instances I can think of where they did the draw thing, where they stand and look at each other and pull the gun.
Yep, I had that whole sequence. See, this is not that I loved. It's when he faces down those 2 guys in the lobby, and you have this beautiful triangle composition where they're in the foreground and he's in the background, right in the middle, and then then they do close-ups of them unholstering or getting their weapons ready to draw. Very much an Old West shootout. Absolutely. So
I love Justin, when he does the shootout with John Travolta. He it's not even a contest. He just takes him out right away.
Yeah. Well, Howard Saint's a punk. Like he's not. I think that's kind of intentional though. I think
for sure.
Corey, that's the thing. He's not a good bad guy. He's a poser. Like he's completely insecure, and that's why Frank is able to play him the way he does.
Yes.
Well, and you can see that too as he's dealing with those people whose money he's transporting. Like he's obviously scared of them, and he's worried.
The Cuban.
Yeah. Once he is like not surrounded by his men, he's nothing.
Yeah.
Now, the other thing that I want to point out too in some of the camera work, Craig, was there was quite a little bit of emphasis on some of the slow-mo jumps for the trucks. And I feel like that might be where some of their budget went, was like, oh, we're going to crash these trucks and these cars. Oh, you better get some slow motion shots on them. Right?
In the rundown part, is that what you're talking about? When they're running down the wife and the kid?
When they're she's jumping the boat with the truck, you see the slow motion, just a slight one as it hits the ground.
Yeah.
And then the truck with the villains comes in, it hits the ground. And then Frank on the motorcycle, it hits the ground. Like you see these jumps, and I feel like that's where a big of their stunt budget was right there.
Sure.
And I feel like nowadays you get some slow-mo shots in the fights and things, like the punches and the fights and the action moves. And I felt like this movie didn't deliver on that part. Like in the old days of 70s, 80s, 90s, jumping vehicles was always a big thing. Right?
Even though it's
logistically not even possible, right? You can't do that and keep driving. And now it's not so much on that, it's more on the fighting and the choreography of that stuff that makes it look like these guys are elevated above just regular people. And that's where I'm missing.
Are you telling did movies lie to me? You can't jump a car and keep driving?
You can't. No. I've done it.
What else have movies been lying to me
so
my whole
many
life?
Things.
Yep.
I thought, dang it.
Okay, so I just have gonna go rapid fire here because I did see that there was some interesting things, just shot wise here. Like you mentioned the chase, Corey, like a lot of Dutch angle in there, which that's my favorite angle. I love seeing that as they're trying to escape in the SUV. There's a nice wide shot, like a pretty wide shot as Frank is shot by Saint's men, just enough where you kind of have that separation, so there might be a chance that he didn't get killed there. Which is kind of cool. When they find out that Frank's alive, there's this bird's eye view, almost bird's eye view looking down on Saint's office.
Yeah.
Because they're disoriented, and so we are as well. When Harry Heck is chasing, that's the guy with the guitar, is chasing Frank, we get some great first-person point of view as he's trying to get away from him. And as the car crashes, you're inside the car with that.
Yeah, there's some more car jumping there too.
And then, of course, at the end, you have the bird's eye view of the Punisher symbol made by all the exploded cars in the St. Motors parking lot.
The hookiest shot of the whole thing.
Why? It's a comic book.
All
movie.
These cars are going to explode. That's going to make a perfect Punisher symbol. Who's going to see that? A
He did
helicopter
it on purpose.
He did it on purpose.
It's an homage to his son.
This
Corey.
is exactly, because that's where he got the shirt. Corey, did you miss his son bought him that shirt?
Yeah,
And so that last bit. Let's talk about that real fast, because I think that last attack on Howard Saint, that's a surgical strike. That's why it's not brutal like you got with the Russian fight. That was an ambush.
Yes,
That guy showed up at his apartment and just started beating the crap out of him. When he went to take on Howard Saint, he knew exactly what he was doing. He'd planned that out.
Yeah,
Parabellum, baby.
Okay.
Well, and I love that it was an ambush that only succeeded because he let his guard down, because he was like trying to accept his like humanity a little bit. Like, maybe I can be friends with these people.
Beautiful.
He picks up his gun, and he puts his gun down, thinking better of it, and then goes to open the door.
Justin, dang
Nice.
you, because that I paid attention to that, and I had that in here. His gun, where he set it down, should always keep a weapon on him.
Yep.
That
I love nothing more
you
than
make
to
me
take
think
your
a little
stuff.
more than that. Dang you.
Okay.
Now, I will say this. Here's the other part I got for this camera work, Craig, and this
Okay.
frustrates me with 2004, because 2024 Marvel would never let this happen. There were so many mistakes on that pier for camera angles and shots all over the place that it was absolutely ridiculous. It was amateur hour on the truck running over the family, goes down to the end of the pier, turns around, comes back at him. He shoots it. It crashes into the building. He shoots the windshield. It's like shot and got a bunch of holes on it. And then they blow him up on the pier. And then the final shot is them all back in the truck, leaving and driving right by those two buildings. And there's not a speck of damage or anything as it drives away. Like it's going back towards the city.
Yeah,
And so it was the
everything.
wrong angle. It was the wrong angle. And it frustrates me because I'm like, that's just lazy. It's spliced footage that we're just like, okay, we got to, get the shot of them driving away here, put that in, and we'll say that's them driving. And I don't think Marvel pays too much attention to Easter eggs now. And I feel like somewhere along the line, a movie like this got those criticisms to make them go, we got to watch out for those kind of goofs and movie mistakes. Because
You know what?
it's
Corey,
distracting for someone like me in 2024.
I'm appalled you would say that. I think the hardworking people of Puerto Rico fixed that building before they drove back.
They could have.
That's what that
in that
was.
30 seconds. Yes.
I think if you're looking for continuity errors, you're going to find them everywhere, in every movie, Marvel or otherwise.
Well, I feel like the further
bother
back
me.
in
Not in
time
the Snyder
you go,
cut.
like the 90s, 80s, 70s, those
Yeah.
movies, the further back
Yeah.
you go, the more continuity
Well,
errors
yes.
there are.
And I've heard,
You didn't pay attention to it.
Well, I've also heard, like, Paul Hirsch, who's a very famous editor who did Star Wars and many, many other things, talk about the fact that sometimes the editing isn't so much about continuity as it is, like, creating a moment. Like, if this is a better emotional take than this other one that fits, visually, continuity-wise, we're going to use the one that doesn't fit. So sometimes it's about the feeling that more so than it is about the aesthetics of it.
I also think movies...
That's
now
terrible.
movies are made to be watched and rewatched and
That's
watched
true,
again.
too, man. Absolutely.
And we don't.
Yeah.
I don't think people rewatch movies over and over and over again.
Yeah. So with digital, you can pause and go back multiple times
Well,
and not
because
break
I
the
did.
thing.
I rewound that scene like 4 times to look at that. And I was like, yeah. But
There you
you
go.
would not get away with that in a comic book. You would not take a frame from here and a frame from here, and it's the
no.
same frame, and pair it twice. And
Well, because now they would just paste over it with some CGI mess.
There you go.
that's true. Yes. Yes.
Okay, let's
Marvel's
talk
got a
about-
bigger budget.
Let's talk about the sound. We kind of hinted at that a little bit. So effects, soundtrack. I have some stuff. Yes, diegetic music, vocal sounds. Which Corey, you already talked about. You threw out some vocal sounds already because of the narration, right?
I did. The vocal sounds threw me off. Like, he's got that raspy voice, and that's cool. But it's just a lot of brooding and just a very somber feeling, and he can't talk to people. And then when the nice people he tries to talk to, he just can't. It just is very. There's not a lot of range in what they wanted him to do. You got to just look the same throughout the whole movie, and your narration is where we're going to get more lines. So it throws me off. But I will say for the soundtrack in the beginning, Craig, you hit it spot on. It was very spaghetti Western feeling to me. I was like, oh my gosh, this is like a Western, like a kind of, that reminded me of the good, bad, and the ugly. Not that theme that's quite so recognizable, but just some of the music in the background that they always had playing. And so it made it very, very Western-like.
Yeah, and not to stereotype, but it is an Italian composer, Carlo Ciliato, who's done a few things in the U.S., but a lot of foreign films that we have not seen and don't really fit with our core demographic or whatever. But like, definitely a guy who had been influenced by Ennio Morricone, the composer of the spaghetti
and
westerns.
if he's Italian, that might be why he put that opera in there, because that opera was. I say that opera's fantastic. I thought it was wonderful.
Yeah,
I love that part.
I mean, that's the diegetic music that's playing. What's that called? I had this here. La Donna Immobile. Yeah, which
it's
which
kind of
means
a famous one.
Woman is fickle. That's what it translates to. An opera aria. Yeah, played for fun, like to kind of cheer up Joan, and then while Frank's fighting the Russian at the same time. It's like it bends in between diegetic and non-diegetic, and it's totally ironic the fact that that's playing while they're fighting. Love it. Justin.
So that scene in the diner with Harry Heck, when Harry Heck walks in, and for some reason my mental image of Harry Heck, and no matter how many times I see this movie, my mental image of that scene will always be Johnny Cash.
Yeah, I think that's what's happening there. Yeah,
like even in the scene, I'm just like, that's not what your face looks like. You're supposed to be Johnny Cash. The song he sings in, what's it called? In Time, I believe. What a fantastic little piece of music, and everyone in the diner. I mean, because it's diegetic, like it's, for those of you who don't know, diegetic music is happening, like music that the audience and the actors in the film can hear. So it's like happening there. Everyone in the diner is just very confused, and you can tell that Frank Castle's like, this guy's weird. And Frank Castle's like even on his guard quite a bit, like, you know, goes for a gun, finds out the guy pulls out a guitar. But then the song is just so like hauntingly good. Like,
yeah, it's a good song.
It's a fantastic song, and it's got some like deep lyrics about how, you know, he's going to continue to dodge death, and eventually like he will be killed, and then he just like leaves with like, I'm gonna sing it at your funeral. That's awesome. What a great, so cool.
Yeah, that's a walkabout. Yeah, what's it called? Walkaway. What's this? What does Nick Miller say? Walk away something. I don't know.
I don't know. So no, I thought that was absolutely fantastic. And it sets the scene, and then like you kind of know that like, okay, Frank Castle is a known entity. Like, he is going to be chased down, and he's gonna attract some like high profile killers. I do kind of wish I thought it was weird. So we're getting away from music here now, but we have Harry Heck, and then we have the Russian that come after the Punisher. And I feel like usually in stuff like that, it comes in like groups of 3. Like, so I almost feel like there should have been another assassin that came after him. It's always weird to me that there's only 2. But yeah, those two were fantastic, and both of those scenes were great. But no, I like that song.
Yeah.
That song.
Goosebumps Walk Away is what Nick calls it. Nick Miller from New Girl.
Oh, Goosebumps Walk Away.
I didn't think I was going to have a lot in this section, because at first I was like, well, I don't really like this score. It's kind of dumb. But I did like, and kind of melodramatic. It does have a leitmotif. The main title is called The Skull, which is appropriate. It's used throughout. It's actually pretty memorable once you get into it. It's strings and horns, again, very much like the Man with No Name theme. There's also a soft piano version that's played while Joan offers to make good memories with Frank. So it's used a lot, which I thought was cool. I want to go just really fast back to the effects. There was a couple of effects that I really, really liked. Sound effects. I liked the burning meat sound. That was in such a great scene, with the torture scene where he's not really torturing the guy. And I was going to say this earlier, like with a few cuts, this could have been a PG-13 movie very easily.
Is it science fun, Mickey? I love that line.
And I think would have done much better, like box office wise, if they would have. I think they could have made, and you know, probably would have got some. Justin's shaking his head. Maybe not, because
I disagree. You can't make a Punisher movie.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying, but it's close. You know what I'm saying though? Like it's a soft R.
It's a pretty soft R.
They cut away a lot where they could have shown
I was really
more gore.
Irritated in that one instance of nudity. It's just like, you don't need. Why did we put that in there? You don't need that.
Yeah.
But no, I think for violence it needs to be R for Punisher. Just like Logan. Like Logan is not. Yeah. You can't have a Logan movie without an R rating.
So see that's
go ahead, Corey.
That's the part that I think this Punisher movie needed to be more. He needs to be more violent. He needs to be more. And I don't know this at the time. I don't know this. Having watched clips of the new Punisher, I feel like that makes me look and say this old Punisher was not violent enough to be the Punisher.
Yeah,
Like,
I mean,
he
and those
has to
Netflix
be-
show that, especially the Netflix show, it aims for hard R with like gratuitous sex and violence and stuff. I think it's too much.
I also wondered though, is in the early 2000s, like I think media has gotten more desensitizing and more violent. So I think for the early 2000s, this was fairly violent.
Sure. I remember it being darker, and first time I saw it was 2004, and so I think that you're onto something. That in 2024, it's
Unless-
a lot lighter.
There's an alternate version with 17 extra minutes. Like maybe that's just the scene that maybe that no, I mean that in all
Yeah.
seriousness. Maybe that just
Maybe.
has extended fight scenes or extended gore that we didn't see in this version. So
Like the torture scene where they're ripping out the piercings and stuff. They don't show any of that. That would be an easy thing that
that's
would
true.
be left in, like even a hard R 80s
Yeah.
movie. You'd
Yeah.
see that kind of stuff.
I'm actually trying to think what else would make it R. The scene where he takes the knife and he shoves it through the guy's mouth.
Yeah.
That would make it R. But what else in there was like so violent they couldn't give it a PG-13?
Yeah.
that was from
not
another
much.
movie.
While you're thinking about that, here's the last few things that I have for sounds. Again, that great scene in the lobby where we have the triangle composition. When he's revealed, when Frank's revealed, there's a bell toll. Just a little stinger of a bell, which is amazing. Right as he drops all the money and they show up in the lobby, which I thought was pretty cool. And the kind of ironic thing, again, going back to the thing of like whether Marvel knows exactly what they're doing with this particular thing, or Lionsgate, there's multiple studios happening here, is that this film also has a soundtrack not unlike Daredevil's. It's a lot like Daredevil's. I mean,
Oh, yeah.
in the middle of the, like, diegetically playing, and also during the credits, you have Broken by Seether with Amy Lee from Evanescence. So it's all that wind-up people again. You got Drowning Pool, you got Edgewater, Puddle of Blood. Nickelback is back in it again. Queens of the Stone Age. So it's like, again, a Punisher movie probably shouldn't have a pop soundtrack, right?
Well, tonally, I feel like it felt like Daredevil quite a bit too. Like it was dark in a lot of the same ways. I feel like we always say this at the end, but I feel like this very easily could have existed alongside Daredevil. And like as you know,
Yes.
Punisher and Daredevil
Director's
have
cut
quite,
Daredevil, yeah.
Yeah, they already have a history.
That
Yes.
could have worked.
This
Yep.
could have worked if you
I
had done
agree.
that.
Darn it.
And was there ever a plan for a sequel out of this? Maybe this was just
Yep.
supposed to be a setup. Oh,
No,
okay.
it was absolutely. I mean, that's the ending. I mean, we mentioned this before. He's not the Punisher until he gets to the end, and then he's like, "I'm the Punisher." And then yes, there was a sequel, but again, with all of this was a tortured production all the way through, and then that ended up, Thomas Jane leaves and the director leaves, and then it's like, let's just reboot this thing, and then Punisher Warzone comes out.
Yeah,
Plus the
I'm
MCU
actually
had happened, as Justin said, like all the wheels are turning in that direction too. So
I'm surprised with like how, like you said, a tortured production. This movie came out really well on the other end, despite all the issues.
I agree. It doesn't feel like a movie that got slapped together.
No.
So, as far as performance goes, we've talked a lot about John Travolta already, and so I had that note too, and I'm questioning as I'm watching this movie: was John Travolta ever a good actor, or do we just think that he was? Because he's so cheesy in this and so many other things, and I know you love Face Off, Justin, but
I do love
those
Face Off.
movies, both of the main characters are completely over the top.
Wait,
Face
is
Off-
John Travolta like Ben Affleck? Like I recently discovered Ben Affleck's a really bad actor. It was our friend Andrew who's been on the show. Is like, name one time Ben Affleck was a good actor, and I'm like, oh my goodness, he
Have
sucks
you not
in
seen The
everything.
Town?
No, I haven't. Oh no, I have.
The
Wait,
Town
have I?
is good. The Town is really good. That's him. He's directed that.
But
too.
is he good?
He's good in it. Yes.
Okay.
Listen.
Wait, so is
I
John
think he's
Travolta
good in Armageddon. Come
Let's
on.
talk
The scene at the end with the crying. Oh, come on. It gets me every time.
John Travolta is not.
He's not a good actor.
He is great in Phenomenon. He's
Yes.
great in Broken Arrow.
No. He's just cheesy in
man.
that. Dude, he's chopping scenery in that
Good.
too.
He's great in Face Off.
No.
Other than that, I
Nope,
don't
Chomsky.
think he's like. I'm looking at all these movies. I think he's more of a funny guy.
Pulp Fiction. Pulp Fiction. He's fantastic.
Okay.
You know what?
Vincent
There's
Vega is great.
there's a commercial where he plays Santa Claus that's been
Wild
airing
Hogs
recently,
is good.
and he's doing
Well,
quite
you're
good in
pulling
that
out
commercial.
comedies. We're talking actual acting. I would say was it Michael when he played the Angel? I think he was pretty good in that. There was like a renaissance there for a little while where he was in a lot of different stuff.
Battlefield Earth.
Battlefield, this is trash.
He was great in the movie. I
No,
love that
no.
movie.
Okay, Phenomenon I will give you. Phenomenon is good as a just solid drama. I mean, the sci-fi elements, but I think he's good. Although it's been a long time since I've seen it.
Can we please do a live episode where we watch Battlefield Earth together? Please.
God.
Please, please, please.
We may.
Corey's
That
going
would
to
be
be smacking
amazing.
things around live during that. Okay, dialogue. I think this movie is incredibly quotable. That was one
Wait,
thing.
I got more to say on
What?
actors.
Well, let's do it. Go for it.
I got more.
Oh
to
my
say.
gosh, Corey, you're gonna go for it, Justin.
Thomas Jane as Frank Castle. There's a lot of times where I think he really nails it as the Punisher, but when he is trying to act human and charismatic, he's not that great of an actor. I feel like he struggles a lot. He reminds me a lot of Christopher Lambert in Highlander.
Oh yes, like the look of him too, right?
The look and kind of the way he talks. Like Christopher Lambert in Highlander did not know English when that movie was filmed. He
Sure.
just memorized his lines phonetically.
Yeah.
And there's a couple times in this where I feel like Thomas Jane is like kind of doing the same thing.
Yeah, I think you're
where it's
right.
like,
Well,
do
I mean,
you know English?
and
I
I-
loved him as the Punisher, but
Yeah,
just
no,
sometimes
he's good, and he's good in other stuff too. So I'm like, this might be just direction because I believe this is Jonathan Hensley's first feature film, and so you might have some
it
of
might be.
that happening. Like what kind of direction he's getting?
No, but then there's other
it's
times
uneven.
where he has really good like comedic timing, and
Yeah.
during the Russian fight, he has like very good facial expressions where he looks genuinely surprised in like a humorous way.
Yeah.
So it's not all over the place, but every once in a while I was like, "What are you doing, man?
It's inconsistent.
What's going on?"
Yeah,
there?"
that's the sign
But-
of a poor direction, in my opinion.
Yeah, it was.
Scene to scene, you don't know what you're
I
doing.
do think he did great overall, though.
Now-
Okay.
No.
Speaking of characters, though, this movie is stacked with some pretty big people.
Yeah, and we'll
Right?
get there, Corey. We got to.
Oh,
we'll get. To
I thought we were
characters.
going to the characters. I'm sorry.
No. We're we're talking about.
I was
just
trying to slip right in there.
performances mainly, dialogue.
Oh.
Then we'll get to facial
Okay.
expressions,
Okay.
costumes, and all that stuff. So, you don't think there's a lot of good lines in this movie, Corey?
I think there's a few. I've got.
Go with
I've got a
God.
couple.
God's gonna sit this one out. Come on.
God's gonna see this one.
So 2004.
Yes,
I
which
know.
makes it amazing.
God.
I love it.
Again,
God's
this is
gonna
the guy
sit this
who
one
wrote.
out.
This is come on. You got Die Hard with a Vengeance. Come on. It's
Oh,
that.
Read your
Yeah.
newspaper every day and you'll
Let me
understand
look.
which
Yes.
section
Let me
obituaries.
look.
Obituaries.
Oh.
Come on.
I mean,
mean-
that right there. Steven Seagal. That's what that level is.
No,
that is a
no.
Steven Seagal line. Check the obituaries.
Yeah.
Nah.
That's what we want. We want the one-liners. So many times.
Isn't science fun, Mickey?
Yeah.
Oh, love that line.
Come on,
Delivery
the end,
on it.
Howard Saint's yelling at him, and he says, "You took everything from me." Hank Frank says, "You took everything from me," and Howard says, "You killed my son," and then he explodes. Both of them.
Both of them. Oh,
Come on,
So
Corey.
good.
If that's you don't
So
like,
good.
there's something wrong with it. Come on. So good. I love those. Just the smack talk, one-offs.
Oh man. All right. Let me look. The one I did have, John Travolta's line when the guy asked for his mom. Where's mom? Oh, mother's gone. She took a train.
Yeah,
It's like
that was a little silly.
that was straight. See, that's the problem. I'm getting that. That's the writing I'm
Yeah, but
getting.
that's what we're wanting. We want a fun action movie where guys blow stuff up, don't look at the explosions behind them, and talk smack as they kill people. That's what we want,
okay.
right? Come on.
Yes.
While you're looking for stuff, one thing I've noticed this time, and I had to go back and watch it. So Bobby Saint, the first son who gets killed, it's his fault, right? Because he's like,
Yeah.
he's got his gun, and he waves. He's like carelessly waving his gun around, and that's what sets off the whole shootout. And I was like, well, that's really interesting. He's a dumbass, and look what
Yeah.
happened.
Yeah. Now, I do agree with you guys. This is the best quote of the whole thing. The best quote, because I had this one down, and you said it already, was the part where he says, "You took everything from me. You killed my son." And he says, both of them. After he explodes.
Because it explodes in the middle of the
Because
sentence.
you hear him scream, "No!" And then it explodes. And I got to admit, I was like, yeah, that's a good line. That's a good line.
There you go.
Okay?
Seriously,
also, the line where he is setting the son up with the anti-personnel
Yes.
mine. Oh, you look like you work out.
Yeah.
Like,
Oh, yeah.
hands
Okay,
to him.
all
That's
that.
great.
That was good humor there. That
Yeah.
was good.
To borrow a line from Cinema Wins on YouTube, Tom Jane's workout routine. Because that guy is ripped in this movie.
Yeah, he
Oh, yeah.
was pretty ripped.
I appreciate the
kudos.
effort, sir. I thought it was funny that like it was just facial hair that separated the twins. It's
Wait.
like, yeah. So Bobby had facial hair.
Wait, they were twins?
Yeah, it was the same actor.
Oh,
The brother that died
Wait.
at the beginning and the brother that died at the end.
Whoa. Okay.
hold on. Did you just trip me up?
Did you not know that was the?
Did not know.
Did you look at the credits?
No.
And I was like, oh, it's this guy and this guy. Put them both. Yeah.
Wait to turn it off, Craig.
Oh.
What?
Oh, I
Corey,
totally knew that.
come
I'm
on.
just messing with you.
Oh.
All right.
Yeah,
I think.
you're
Okay. I'm gonna. I
Now,
did
wait.
like. Go ahead.
Oh, one more quote. I did like this one.
Yeah.
When Harry Heck has him down on the ground and he says, "You are a dumb SOB, bringing a knife to a gunfight."
Yes.
That's a great line, and that was a great setup. Like he right in the neck and took care of him. So
Yeah. But you know what I have to say? As much as I like that line, like I like it a whole lot better when Sean Connery says it in The Untouchables, which is a far better film.
yeah.
And if you guys seen The Untouchables? Corey, I know you've seen it.
The
Justin, you
Untouchables?
seen it?
Oh
Yeah.
gosh, that's a great movie.
Yeah, we got to do that at some point. Fantastic. That's different setup for that one. I thought the black hair looked a little bit weird on Thomas Jane. I don't know if they needed to do that. Like it felt like it was dyed.
Yeah.
Wait, just like who he was as the Punisher?
Yeah,
Black hair?
Like yeah. I mean, I think he has like lighter brown hair. It just felt a little bit off. I don't know if he had to go.
I don't know.
No.
I did not feel weird about that at all. Well, and maybe it's because this is the first movie I ever saw him in, because now every time I see him and he doesn't have the black hair, I feel
Oh,
like,
sure.
like that's not right.
Yeah, I'd seen him in a couple of things before this. But yeah, we talked about the shirt, Corey. I thought that was an interesting way they did that, where it was just like, hey, the kid was like, hey, I found this shirt from like a street vendor, and then so it had sentimental value to it,
Yes.
and that's why he put it on.
Yeah, I didn't love it. That's not. I feel like the symbol should mean something, and I
Sure.
feel like it wasn't that meaningful, but they were short with runtime. They had to fit other stuff in there, so
Yeah.
it's not a huge issue for me.
Yeah. Anything else performance-wise before we talk about settings and stuff?
I don't think so.
All right. As we mentioned, it's filmed in Florida, which is weird. I mean, that's. I remember hearing about that too in production. It was like because I'd seen my introduction to the Punisher was in the Spider-Man animated show, which is so great, that Fox afternoon show. He was in that too.
Yeah.
Like he's in New York, and like now we're gonna put him in Florida. Why? Because it's cheaper to film there. Okay.
Yeah.
That's it's filmed in Tampa, which also makes it an easy double for Puerto Rico, I suppose. But it's okay. It's a big enough city you can have skyscrapers and kind of
Yep.
approximate big city New York. I found.
Did they ever
actually-
mention in the show, or did they mention in the movie that they were in Tampa, or do you just kind of have to assume as an audience?
I think
bridge.
it's Florida, but I don't know if it said Tampa.
I thought Florida Keys with the bridge, but
Yeah,
I don't know.
But I did find the Saints house is on Realtor.com sold for $8 million in 2011.
Oh.
Mainly because I was looking at the difference between that and like what Frank's living in, with that kind of broken down brick building.
Yeah.
That's a big place, though. I wonder how much that costs him a month.
Yeah.
No way, that's cheap.
Yeah. But they're filming on location, so that was like cool. They actually went to Florida and like they did location scouting, and
Yeah.
this is clearly not. I don't know how many sets there are in this thing. Like maybe the restaurant where Harriet comes in, but it would be just as easy to get
Any
camera
kind of
crew there
a
for
run of the
that.
bill. Yeah.
Yeah, so it feels real. Frank's hideout, where the fight happens, is super utilitarian, which I love, because then it becomes like a Jackie Chan movie where like you're just finding all the different stuff and like killing guys with that, like including what was the thing he said, the paper cutter took the blade off the paper cutter to kill that one dude.
Listen, and after watching this movie when I was in 2004, I looked at paper cutters. Every paper cutter I've seen since this movie,
Yeah.
I look at it. It is not that easy to take that blade off.
No. It was like a pin. And I said that watching it. I was like, what do you got? Just a little ball pin right there? You just popped it off?
Yeah, I gotta tell you,
Imagine-
every time I'm in a teacher's lounge, I
Yeah.
look at that thing and I'm like, no way I could take that off.
If an intruder comes in, I'm going right for the
They
paper
used
cutter.
that in the movie Megan, that new movie with the robot doll. She uses a paper
Yeah.
cutter blade like that. Probably paying homage
Yeah.
to this movie.
I wonder,
Probably
what
a
is he
coincidence.
using that paper cutter for in his apartment, do you think?
I get the feeling like all that stuff was just there when he got there.
You don't think he's doing like scrapbooking projects on his spare time?
He's not
I mean,
he's
family
trying-
memories are important.
Family's been dead for 5 months. They're
That's
trying to
true.
put some
He's got
books
to
together.
scrapbook all those pictures.
Yeah. Some things that do date this film a little bit. The envelope of info on Frank, and in the newspaper with the news of his death.
What?
Like, it's 2004. Like, if this was 2024, there's no way somebody's handing somebody an envelope full of stuff. Like, I'm
And
just
putting
gonna
that
send
in
you,
a limo and like, hey,
I'm just
look at
gonna
this
send
piece
you a
of
zip
evidence.
file. It's I'll just upload it to your cloud account, whatever.
And it looked like he took it right from a police office, kind of, or something, or like a.
The cops did
HR.
not do anything to help, so I'm getting a feeling there's some dirty cops
Yeah, they're definitely.
and that's
I will say
I
this.
don't like Oh, go ahead.
In that scene where he hands him that file of stuff, did anybody else not notice the wife in the car? Like, I didn't
No, I
notice
totally saw
her
her there. Oh yeah.
No, like John Travolta, I'm watching that scene and doing all that, and then when he says, she lifts her head up, she just speaks and says, "I want to kill his whole family."
Yeah, it's her
And
fault.
then the music does a very dun 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 kind of thing, and she lifts her head up and you see her, and I was like, "Holy cow, she's been in the car." Like, I didn't even
Yeah.
see her; she was just in the corner. The way they set that was really good. Like, I didn't know she was there, and then she comes in as the voice of, "Nope, we're taking this all the way."
Again, that's an interesting character beat because
Yeah.
Saint tries to put himself like he's this crime boss, but like he does whatever his wife tells him to do. He's a very, very weak character,
Yeah.
but I think
I also feel
intentionally
like
so.
there are some unfinished threads in that movie because I think it's pretty clear that there are some dirty cops. Like, because how did they get that file so easily?
Yeah.
And then also he kind of approaches, like he makes himself known on like the steps of the court.
The upset
Or-
speech,
I'm not-
yeah.
Yeah, and I think it kind of implies that there's some dirty cops.
Yeah.
But then we don't really see any of that explored.
That's a good point. Yeah,
Kinda-
that could have
kinda
been on the
interesting.
editing floor.
Yeah.
That's a good point. Did those guns come into play? His dad's guns, those Colts? I know he goes back and gets them later, but I don't remember him using them.
I think that's
They don't make a big point out of using them later on, I don't think.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he does.
I know
Those are that one silver tip pistol he uses all the time.
Oh, is that the
He
same?
uses both of those because he makes a comment in the
good
1911.
catch.
Those are the two
Okay,
he does.
I was hoping so. Okay, I was looking for it, but I just was paying
Yeah.
attention to other stuff and missed that. So I'm glad you saw that. I love the popsicle as a prop. Like, you could totally do that. I love how he talks it up. Science is cool. Like, you wouldn't even feel it. You'll feel like it's cold. And
isn't science fun, Mickey?
Listen,
man.
you are not a nice man.
You were not.
the Punisher would not do that. The Punisher would have full on used that flame on the
No,
guy.
because he wanted
Origin
to use the guy
story.
later.
Origin story.
No,
And he turned the guy.
He did it on purpose.
He turned the
He
guy.
wanted to turn the
He
guy.
did.
If he would have actually tortured him, I don't think he could have
You're
turned him.
right.
You're right. Lots of wild turkey. I hope they got a promotional consideration for this film.
Yes.
Let's see. Yeah, I had the paper cutter. Did anybody else think? I hadn't seen it forever. That Harry Heck was going to have something other than a guitar in his case.
I did.
Yeah.
I thought he was going to
Yeah,
have
you-
a shotgun or something right there.
Yeah.
I actually, even after the third time watching this, because like I said, it's been a while, I thought, like, once I thought, like Corey said, he's going to bring out a shotgun, and then when he brought out the guitar, I thought he was going to have, like, a gun from his guitar, or something like that, like, shoot him with a guitar.
Yeah.
Because as he walks over to Frank, he's holding his guitar case, and he's kind of, like, pointing it at him.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you see that shot from the guitar case's point of view. So I thought something was going to happen that entire time, and I'm, like, on the edge of my seat, and then nothing.
It's another way
Yeah.
this movie is grounded that's not comic book in that way. It is more menacing because he's like, this is going to happen later.
Yeah.
Thought that was kind of cool.
Harry Heck, that whole scene was pretty good. I got to
Yeah.
admit.
The car is also
It's awkward.
awesome. The 1969 Pontiac GTO, heavily
It
modified.
gets taken
with
out
the
too
armored-
quick.
Yeah, it does get taken out.
That does
Like,
happen.
he does all this work, makes it all bulletproof and everything. It saves him in this shot, and then boom, it's gone. And he has to
Well, I
take
thought
it
it
to
was
Harry
weird
Heck's
that
car.
he took Harry Heck's car and then he just drives that thing for the rest of the time,
Yeah,
and it's like
that's what I'm saying.
bright lime green.
I'm
like, I
still
don't
waiting
want
for
a lime
John
green
Wick to
car.
get his
$50,000 in
car
the
back,
budget.
though. So, I mean, I thought that was going to be a thing that happened, and it didn't. All right. Okay, Corey, characters.
Okay, let's talk about a Roy Schneider cameo that is shorter than the plot of Jaws 3. Holy cow. Like, you get Roy Schneider in this movie, and you get him all gristly looking, like sandy looking, and he's on a beach, and he's in it for 30 seconds? Like, what happened? Like, I was disappointed with that. I was like, give me Roy Schneider a little bit more.
Yeah, he's old. Roy Schneider's old.
He's
Rest in
not
peace.
old.
I think he's, dude, look it up.
Oh, how old
I'm
was
pretty
he?
sure Roy Schneider has passed at this point.
Oh, yeah,
Love
he's
his
dead
Jaws.
now, but
Love
he
his
died
Jaws.
of
I didn't
cancer a
mean to
long
say
time
that out
ago.
loud.
But
Yeah.
like,
Wait, where is
I
he in
felt
this
like
movie?
That's a big name to just toss aside. But they had some great names in this.
It's not, no. In 2004, he's not a big name anymore.
No.
Jaws is
that's
1975, and he's already
Now-
starting to show his age. Come on.
Another big name, Will
French
Patton.
Connection.
Let's talk about Will Patton.
I like Will Patton.
You think of the depth of people that he's worked for? Like, he has done some huge movies.
Are you going to go Michael Bay on this, Corey?
Michael Bay, Armageddon with Bruce Willis? He was fantastic in that movie.
He is, as Chick, he's fantastic. That whole movie I love.
Remember
You know I
the
love
Titans
Armageddon.
with Denzel Washington?
He's a
He's in that
character actor.
movie.
Yes, he's a guy that you
Like-
know, but you don't know his name.
Right, like, but
Most of
he is in
except for us film
with
nerds.
some huge people that he's acted with.
Yeah.
So
You know what? And that scene, well, probably, it's so sad when Mr. Saint is killing
Yes.
Mr. Glass.
Yes.
there, and he's like, "You're killing me. You're killing me."
Oh,
He, like,
that's
continues to stab him.
He's like, why?
It's so sad
Because he doesn't know. Yeah,
Yeah.
that is a good scene. That is probably Travolta's best work in the film.
that was painful.
They had
Yeah.
the whole spiel about moving the furniture and throwing down the knife, and I wonder if that's true.
And he never even, like, you can kind of see his loyalty to Mr. Saint. Like, he never even really fights back.
Nope.
He just takes it.
Yep, that's 100% true.
Very sad.
Samantha Mathis, point out her. She was in Broken Arrow and this movie with John Travolta. So I felt like I don't know which one
and the
came
Super
first.
Mario Brothers movie. No, the Broken Arrow did, Corey. Broken Arrow's from the mid '90s.
Oh gosh, you're right.
That's a John Woo movie. Okay,
That's
yeah.
John Woo.
Oh
All right.
my goodness, that movie's trash. So bad.
And then
Not that one. Not this one. That one.
Now here's the thing about Thomas Jane. You guys keep talking about, but he's done some. Like I liked him in Deep Blue Sea. It did not do very well, but
It's because
I
it's not a
liked
good
him
movie.
in that movie. But he was also in another movie that is absolutely crushing to watch, but very B level, but a
Mist?
great story. The Mist.
The Mist
He
is not
a-
a B movie. The Mist is a good movie.
It's a great movie, and
I
holy
don't know if it's
cow,
a great movie.
like,
It's a good movie.
I was caught off guard at the end.
That's
I wasn't
Craig,
ready
keep
for that.
correcting him on his
God
adjectives.
dang it, Craig! Stinking ELA teachers. Yeah, no.
I thought it was fine. He's good.
And
At it.
then-
He's very good at it.
And then John Pignette, his mousy little group of trio friends. He's got Rebecca Romijn.
Romaine, yeah. Romaine.
That
yeah.
would be. She's stunning in this movie. I think she looks
Yeah.
great.
But it's Mystique, that was a thing that tripped me up, though. I'm like, you're already in one thing. You can't
Yeah.
be in two.
I was trying to
She's really good in
pull a
this, though.
Corey on this one and like fan theory. Maybe this was like Mystique playing a role in order to recruit the Punisher for the Brotherhood of Mutants or something.
So he has
I was
he
like,
has no
I
powers,
was
so he's of no use to
4D
Magneto.
chess in this. Yeah,
Yeah.
it doesn't work.
Well, and then you have, what's his name? Ben Foster, who will later on play Angel as Spacker Dave, the guy with all the piercings.
Nah, that movie
But this
sucks.
is
I don't wanna talk about it.
before. We'll get to that one.
But John
eventually.
Pignette does a great job in this movie. He was in the Seinfeld series finale, and he is a good stand-up comedian. But so I liked him in this, and I liked his little mousy friends. So
Bump Up, yeah.
Thomas Jane plays in a movie called Butt Whistle. I'd like to know
Thank
what that's
you.
his
about.
No.
resume is filled with solid stuff.
Okay. Anybody else that we didn't talk about that we need to?
You know what, Craig? I just like to give you an opportunity to edit stuff out. That's really
No,
what
that's
I'm here
staying in.
for.
Professional wrestler Kevin Nash.
Yes.
Did
As the
anybody
Russian.
catch the side shot of his arm, his biceps, when he's destroying the Punisher? There's a scene where he grabs him and he's holding him, and the camera's right on the side. And I'm not kidding. His arm takes up a third of the screen.
Yeah,
Like
he's a big dude.
the amount of size difference between them was so evident that it was there. And this was 2004. They weren't doing full prosthetic looks to make them look more big and buff than they are. Like that
Or
is Kevin Nash.
CGI
You
like
realize
Lady
the
Thor, yeah.
size of this athlete in
Yeah.
this movie.
I think there's a little bit of camera trickery there, making him look bigger, but for the most part, yeah, that guy's just huge.
he is.
Oh, and I need to call it Eddie Jemison, who plays Mickey Duca, who's most famously, at least for me, Livingston Dell from the Ocean's movies, Ocean's 11, Ocean's 12, Ocean's 13. He's the guy
Yeah.
who gets tortured with the popsicle stick. I liked him in this. He's got, again, comic relief. I thought that this movie did a good job balancing the, hard R, this is a tragic story with, hey, there's a little bit fairly natural. And like, it's not like modern MCU snark humor, self-aware
Yes.
humor.
Yeah.
Which I miss those days. Hopefully we'll come back around to that. For Hero's Journey, it's anti-Hero's Journey, right? Because it's an origin story. It's not really Hero's Journey. Like, I love what you said, Justin. He's like, he's not getting new powers, or he's like, it's being used in a different way, Right? He has a different purpose for, like this guy was like, well, I forget all of the stuff that he had been involved in before this film, but special forces and undercover and all these very particular set of skills.
They mention in there when they're going over his background that he used to be a CTU agent, which is counter-terrorist unit, which is what Jack Bauer does in 24. So I'm pretty sure he's friends with Jack Bauer.
Don't you dare put him in the same universe as Jack Bauer.
No, that's my headcanon. You can't stop me, Corey.
Okay. And then we talked about a little bit that could this exist in the pre-MCU? It's very grounded. The color palette's very grounded as well. But I think we already kind of said, yeah, this and Daredevil would have fit together, especially like the R-rated Daredevil from the director's cut.
I think we're starting to see a little bit of a split where you have like Daredevil and Punisher in one universe, and then you have like X-Men, Hulk, and Spider-Man in another. Because this does not seem like it would fit with the Hulk or Spider-Man.
Yeah, and
maybe X-Men, but not so much.
And I don't think, I'm trying to remember just off the top of my head, like what else is coming up. There's a lot of sequels in the second half of our series here. I think the only new one is the Fantastic Four, and then the second one of the Fantastic Four. So I think it goes pretty much fantastic and supernatural and comic booky from here. I think this is the last of the attempts to ground things. So I think as we move further on, that it will probably revert more to like what you're talking about with they could all pretty much fit with the X-Men, but
I wonder how much of that is a response
an
to this movie not performing super well.
That's exactly what I'm thinking. That like let's lean back into, because the next one we're going to talk about is Spider-Man 2, and then we get into the last Blade movie and X-Men.
Yeah.
So
I'm sure by the time you hit Spider-Man 2 and that movie was a huge success, maybe they're just like, okay, this is the formula.
Yep.
Yeah, this
was brighter. A stretch, and I think I don't know whose idea it was. Avi Arad probably was running Marvel at the time, but it doesn't feel like it was kind of a half-hearted. Yeah, we can kind of just reach this out here a little bit, like with the modern MCU. We're like, hey, we're going to make Guardians of the Galaxy, which at the time was like, are you kidding? Why? This is bizarre. Yeah. But it was just bizarre enough to work, and you had James Gunn behind it and all those things.
And then everything followed suit to Guardians of the Galaxy.
Pretty much, yeah. That became the template essentially. Yeah. So that's kind of interesting. Final thoughts then on the Punisher from 2004. Corey, I'm going to start with you. Did your opinion change or stay the same?
It changed a little bit thanks to Justin. He always brings in some dynamite drop-ins with what he said about his humanity. He forgot his humanity, or he picked up his humanity and set the gun down, and then Waldo beats the snot out of him.
I got to watch it next time just for that. That's brilliant.
Justin, that was brilliant. It makes me go, okay, there's a little thinking to this movie beyond what I saw. I still think I don't see him as what I consider the Punisher to be. Like, I think of the Punisher needs to just be a remorseless killing machine. And I feel like he tries to play him too much as a normal guy. So it throws me off. And I feel like the majority of his fight scenes, he's spending his time getting his butt kicked and then limps away half dead afterwards, and because he got lucky. So I feel like the Punisher's got to be more of a guy that's just going in and mowing down people and just not getting taken out by one or two enemies at a time, but like just taking out everybody. Like he does take everybody in the final thing, but it's too quick, it's too rushed. And so it's a good movie. I liked it. My main thought is it's Marvel trying to get its feet underneath it early on in this pre-MCU, Craig, that we were talking about. And I feel like this is a grounding foundation building for that. And there's a formula that they start to develop and come up with later. This is not that formula. This is a good movie. There was some entertainment value here. I'm probably not going to watch it again unless we bring it up on a podcast again. But it was decent movie for me.
Okay, I'll take it. Justin, what about you?
I still love this movie. Yeah. I just did not change my mind. I probably love it even more. I feel like we criticized the acting a little bit, but that's because I'm splitting hairs here. Like I think for the most part it was really good. Yeah. Even John Travolta did a decent job here. I do like how you are just questioning yourself the entire time. Like, is Frank Castle in the right here? Like, is he doing what he's supposed to do? Is this morally the way to go? And it kind of like hammers on that right at the end with his little monologue. And I'm just gonna read it off here. He said, like, in certain extreme situations, the law is inadequate. In order to shame its inadequacy, it is necessary to act outside the law. Again, it's kind of like Daredevil's whole shtick, and in some situations, Batman, depending on who's writing Batman at the time. He says, to pursue natural justice, this is not vengeance. Revenge is not a valid motive. It's an emotional response. Not vengeance, punishment. And like, I love that.
That's a good line.
I don't know if that's necessarily something we should all live by, but for a comic book character, that's legitimate, and I think that is incredibly well written. In fact, maybe I'm giving them too much credit. That's probably lifted from the comics, but no, I think it's a fantastic movie, and I'm sad there is not like an official follow up to this. Yeah.
Well, I'm gonna
because it's well done.
Yeah, I want to. So you mentioned not an official follow up, and so I'm gonna give you the opportunity to mention the other thing that you talked about.
Oh yeah, so there is a fan. What would you call that? Fan
It's
film?
It's a fan film, unofficial fan film.
Dirty Laundry is what it's called.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't seen it in a while. Craig watched it recently. Maybe you could speak more to it. But it is with Thomas Jane again, where he reprises his role for, I don't know, 15, 20 minutes?
Yeah, it's not long. I think it might be.
Yeah, you can find it on YouTube.
10, 12 minutes.
It's pretty good.
I think I'm going to put a link to that in the show notes. And so it's Thomas Jane. And Corey, it's the Thomas Jane, it's the Punisher the way that you wanted to see him.
Okay.
Because it has nothing to do with Howard Saint or any kind of vengeance. It literally is, I mean, it takes a little while for him to get there, but it is like, there are bad people doing bad stuff. I'm going to put a stop to that and punish them.
Oh.
And it's brutal. It's definitely fan film, and like you can tell, like it's cheap special effects, but like better than I could do. But it's not a studio film. But the tone is, and I've heard like, even John Bernthal had said that like this was inspiration for him, that for when he watched this first, and that's kind of how his take of the Punisher for the Netflix show came about, which is cool. The kind of funny though is that it, like, not an homage, but literally uses the Dark Knight score, like from the beginning of like the bank heist. It's that music, which is fun. I love that music, but and it kind of fits, but it's also like, hey, that's the Batman music.
I'm just wondering how stuff like that doesn't get taken off YouTube. Like,
I mean,
how is that allowed?
It is blatantly, here's Hans Zimmer and James Newton Howard using their music.
I do not understand like how YouTube works with copyright.
How that works.
It makes no sense to me.
Yeah, I don't know either. But it's cool. And so it is, as much as you can get an official sequel, it's unofficial, but it's still a sequel nonetheless with that same character. So that's kind of fun. And it's cool that he had enough appreciation, even though, again, we said this movie was a tortured production, that he had enough love for the character to come back and do a big-name Hollywood actor to do a fan film was pretty cool. Yeah. And Ron Perlman's in it, too.
Ron Perlman's in it?
Yes, Ron Perlman's in it.
Oh man.
Little small part. Yeah. This film, I'm just going to lead off with the fact that this film has a 29% on Rotten Tomatoes, which...
What?
I mean, Cora, you have to give me an agree. As someone who didn't really like the film, the 29% is ridiculously low. It's really low. And this is what you get with an aggregate site, people. If you don't know how Rotten Tomatoes works, it's it's just this many people said yes or no. Like it's not really rating how good the movie is. It's literally just this is how many people said it was good. This many people said bad. Yeah. So, way too low.
Don't like that.
Nope. Don't like that. I don't know why it is the way that it is. I enjoy the movie. I liked it a lot better the second time. I'm excited to show my son. I think he'd really get a kick out of it. I'm glad I bought it. I'm excited. I like this movie. It's not great, but it's fun. It gave me. I was entertained for 2 hours, and that's for this kind of movie. That's all I wanted.
Yep.
Okay, I'm skipping through this trailer, and I realized I had watched part of it. Craig, I'm going to tell you, that's the Punisher I needed to see.
Yeah.
Well, so I'm going to raise my bar up just a couple notches because that's what he should have been into.
Well.
So, what they did with the character.
So add it to your list, your homework list. You need to watch The Incredible Hulk, and then you need to watch all of Netflix's Daredevil and The Punisher.
I guess so.
And Luke Cage. And, I guess you skip Iron Fist. Watch The Defenders, Jessica Jones. Then come back to us.
I like The Defenders.
I love
it's not
The
well
Defenders.
loved, but I liked it.
That was fun.
Yeah. And it makes fun of Iron Fist, which is great.
Which is good, too.
If you don't like Iron Fist, you'll like The Defenders.
Yeah, that's a slog, but it's okay. So on that note, we're going to get out of here. We just want to say thank you so much for listening. If you'd like to connect with us, you can find us on X, Instagram, and Facebook. Email us at readingbetweenreels@gmail.com or use the SpeakPipe app on our website. And if you enjoyed the show, please subscribe and review us on iTunes or Spotify. And as we mentioned, our next episode will be a review of Spider-Man 2. Send us an email or a voicemail about your favorite moments from Spider-Man 2, and we'll share it on the next episode.